Welcome to the Discovery Doc podcast, where we advocate for optimal wellness and reducing everyday toxic loads, no matter where life takes you. I'm Dr. CeCe, doctor in nursing practice, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and a crunchy mama.
I'm Annah Kate, a medical mystery overachiever and your discovery liaison. Join us on this exciting journey as we explore the world of holistic health, cutting-edge research, and practical solutions for a healthier life. Together, we'll navigate through the complexities of wellness, sharing valuable insights and expert advice.
Tune in to the Discovery Doc podcast. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and discover a whole new way of looking at your health.
Welcome back to the Discovery Doc podcast. I'm here with your host,
Dr. CeCe, functional medicine nurse practitioner, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and crunchy mama of soon to be 4. And my co-host over here,
I'm Annah Kate, your medical mystery overachiever and discovery liaison. And again, we have another guest who is absolutely brilliant and gorgeous and all the things. So will you introduce our fabulous guest that's on the screen with us if you're watching on YouTube?
Well, this is Miss Tori. Everybody say hello. And Tori is a holistic realtor that's really committed to helping anybody in the area find your perfect healthy home, that sanctuary where your body and soul and mind can just thrive. And so as we dive into this month of non-toxic living, we're really excited to get Tori on board to talk to us about finding a home and what kind of stipulations that we should be looking for before we even purchase the home. So we are so excited, Tori, to have you. I'm going to kind of give you the floor for a minute. I would love for you to let our community know just who you are. How did you get to be where you are in life and provide this amazing service to families here locally?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. And it's definitely been a journey, as all of our holistic crunchy mamas know. We have to start somewhere. So my why was over 20 years ago. My now 29-year-old, it's so hard for me to say, like, I have a 29-year-old, really? When she was 7, she started having some more ADHD, just some of that type of, different,
Symptoms.
different things that was coming out. And the doctor had suggested medication. Back then, 20 years ago, we really didn't have a lot of, technology. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have internet. We didn't have this back in like 1999 and 2000. And so I just had to slowly learn and taking things away as her symptoms, were kind of showing up. Chemicals in the home and different, our diets and everything like that just slowly got me into this. And it just kept going and going and going. And she started getting better as I'm making her school lunches, as I'm throwing out all the cleaning products in the home, as I'm investigating mold and toxins and the environment. She started getting better. And I just kept going. And it just, that's where I'm at today. But we wanted to buy a house, and I couldn't find a realtor that would kind of align. And I was having questions, and they really didn't understand a lot that I had concerns about. So my husband had the bright idea, why don't you go get the real estate license so you can kind of navigate for our family? And that's where it began. And as soon as I did, I had friends just say, hey, Tori, will you help me? And it just kind of kept going.
Wow, that is amazing. So one thing I was thinking of while you were speaking is something that I think this is a really cool question. Something that I always think about, because when my mom makes fun of me of like, hey, she's like, when we were growing up, we didn't have fast food. She made all of our food. She was very conscientious, but it wasn't to the degree that I am.
Right.
And my defense is always like, well, Mom, back then, I don't feel like certain things existed that exist now.
Right.
So I'm so fascinated. Did you see that like back 20 years ago? Did you see these chemicals that are in everything now? Was it as, quote, as bad as it is now? Or have you seen this progression of it worsening?
Definitely progress. But in the 90s, when the girls were born, you still had the Capri Suns. You still had, a lot of those all of the red food dye 40s and stuff like that in the 90s and the early 2000s. As a young mama, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what's at the grocery store is, all those little fruit drinks, not understanding, loaded with sugar, kind of getting her started with all these symptoms of ADHD. And but once I started pulling all that back, wow, she started, focusing better. And I really didn't really dive into the supplements and really get into that until a little bit later because, without internet and nobody telling you really what to expect, you just have to kind of figure it out on your own.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, as you've kind of progressed in this career, which is amazing because it's so unique, there is nobody who does this, which is why I love you so much. It's such a needed service because your home is where you spend arguably the most time. And so, making sure that your home is safe and a healthy environment for you and your family is so pertinent. And I just don't think it even crosses people's minds when they're purchasing a new home. So, diving down kind of the world of non-toxic living can be very, very overwhelming. But where should new homeowners start? What are some kind of non-negotiables when entering a new home?
That is such a great question. And I would say that it starts, with me. I like to have conversations with my buyers or sellers. And I have a lot of past mold exposure families,
Mm-hmm.
chemical sensitivity families, lung cancer survivors. I've got cystic fibrosis. I have a lot of respiratory COPD people that come to me and say, Tori, I can't even see a home that has those fake plugins. I will react. So it starts with having that conversation, what's going on with your family? What are we trying to accomplish? What is our concerns? And I will first, do a little assess for, okay, do we have a seller disclosure? Has there been past water exposures? Has there been, anything in the home that I need to be concerned with? Before we even see it, it might not even get to the list that we even, have to see it because of something that
Mm-hmm.
I find. So, I mean, there's a lot there just to get, into the property. And then of course when we go look at the house, I like to, do look around. I have some little tools that I always bring with me. I always bring a humidity meter. I love to know what the humidity in the home is because, mold can exist without just, a water exposure. We could have some humidity that's really bad. So, and I like to look around under cabinets. Everyone's walking around looking at, I tell them, go look at the floor plan. Let's see what you like. And then I'm kind of over here on the end looking for cracks. I'm over here looking for things.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm assessing. And then we kind of meet back and let me know what you think. And they're like, yeah, this or that. And then I'll say, well, I found this kind of in the bathroom, nothing to really alarm you about, but I want you to know if you want to move forward with an offer, we're going to really investigate this. There's something here that could be something, could not be something, but let's, get some extra people out. Maybe there's a crack somewhere that I want to make sure there's not a foundation issue.
Right.
Maybe there's some staining that wasn't on a disclosure that I need to get answers for.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of something like a realtor doing this? Seriously.
No, but I wish that she would have been around when Mark bought our house
Right.
because,
And I'm like, we're about to do renovations. I'm like, Tori, you're going to be here every day.
yeah,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
love
make
it. Oh
make
my
it
gosh.
happen.
This is such a passion and such my jam. Like I eat, breathe, and live healthy homes. Everything, and if I don't know something, I'm gonna investigate it. I'm gonna figure it out because
Mm-hmm.
I just love it. I became building biology advocate certified. I love building biology. It's the holistic wellness of a home and it's just amazing. Like we breathe and this is where we're raising our babies and we're creating memories here. It can be a wonderful thing. It can also make us so sick and toxic if we're
Yes.
living in a bad environment.
Yep.
Right. And oftentimes people don't know it until they become symptomatic. And
Exactly.
then they start putting the puzzle pieces together of, whoa, I feel much better when I was just on vacation for 10 days and outside of my home. And then I come back to my home and I don't feel good. But by that point,
Yeah.
now we need intervention
Mm-hmm.
instead of where you come in and you can prevent all that from happening, which is amazing. So, speaking of mold specifically, because yes,
Yeah.
it's a huge problem.
Yes.
And, I have a lot of patients with mold toxicity, and it can range from looking like a kiddo who just gets sick
Yeah.
all the time recurrently to a baby with severe eczema
Mm-hmm.
to a mom with reproductive issues
Right.
and everything in between. And so, what are your recommendations for testing or for addressing any issues that are found quickly?
So, I have that conversation. I like to talk to my clients before we even do the home inspection. I like to negotiate a good due diligence period. And I always make it, very known that we will be doing a mold inspection. And I haven't really found anybody that says, I don't want to do a mold inspection unless they're an investor and they're gonna, remediate and take care of the house anyway. But for the most family members, we will have a conversation. Some families love the air quality. They would rather prefer to do an air quality. Some parents and some families just love the ERMI test.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have some people will do tape tests. They all have their place, and each home and each situation is different. Some people want a mold dog come out. That's a new thing that has
Didn't
been.
even know that existed.
Yeah, it's a
I
mold
bet it's the
dog.
DSP that does it too.
Mhm.
They're so sensitive.
Really?
Their nose, yeah. They're
Wow.
so I have German short hair pointers. So they're the drug dogs at the Atlanta airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're and you can't say hi to them because they're so cute. But I
Yeah.
like so in our house we had the dogs and we had water come in our back door. And my husband was like, yeah, there's mold in every house. And I said, no, this is something different because it made me super symptomatic with all the other stuff that I had going on, neurological issues with mold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was under the carpet. There was black mold behind bookcases.
Yeah.
And so I had to get out of there when he remodeled our downstairs living room, but he ripped it all out, put in new, sheetrock and like the whole 9 yards. And I was like, there's something here that is like,
That's not right.
it's messing with me and I can't put my finger on it
Yep.
with all this. So neurologically, like, and now I can't go into a mildew, musty environment without, I mean, I can go in for about 2 seconds.
Yeah. And
Yep.
you know it right away.
Right.
You react.
It is so incredible how sensitive we can become to those things. And then when you walk into somewhere else and you're like, oh, this is off. I don't feel like, and your body's like, run away, please run away. Please move out of this space.
Yeah.
So, but it's so, for those that aren't sensitive to it, it can be a point of, oh, well, we don't need to do this now, or we can wait until we do the rest of the remodel. But for those that are sensitive to it and have other issues, it is highly important. Can you tell us why it's so highly important not to live in a toxic mold environment for the entire health of the family?
Yes. I mean, this is what a lot of people will say. And my challenge is when I'll have lab results and I will present this to the listing agent and they'll say, oh, it's no big deal, Tori. Everybody wants to put bleach on it or, not,
Mm-hmm.
and it really is a struggle. So educating and having conversations, sometimes I've even had, it has been more common lately, I'll actually have that mold company or who did the test reach out to the listing agent and have conversations and try to, share with them so I can negotiate. I have been very fortunate. I have been getting a lot of negotiations um, done. And my last one was at East Cobb House, and I did get around $5,000 worth of negotiated on some of the repairs and some things that needed to be done. So I felt like that was a huge win for us.
Mm-hmm.
But this family, super, like you said, super sensitive, and people just don't realize living in a home with those microtoxins. can just cause so many issues long term. You might think, oh, well, I don't really react or whatever, but over time, what is that going
Exactly.
to do and hinder your immune system to fight off? And it's just so bad. It's just so bad. It's so many things can come about this.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, mycotoxins are basically the byproducts of fungus. So they're a byproduct of mold. They're like the little babies, the spores. And it is true, some of them are naturally occurring, but there is a normal, quote, normal reference range for a reason. Once you are outside of that, that is a toxic level, and your cells hold on to that. Your body holds on to that. And everybody genetically is very different. So I get this question a lot where it's like, well, yeah, we have mold in the house, but I'm okay. And my husband's okay. And the kids are kind of the only ones that have issues. Like, why would that be a thing if it was just the mold? And I'm like, because everybody is different.
Yeah.
Your genetics are different from your husband or your spouse or your child. Your methylation pathways, your detox pathways, what you have going on internally is so different that it can look very, very different from one family member to the next.
Yeah.
And there is no world in which it can be beneficial to
Exactly.
be surrounded by those mycotoxins, because you're right, over time, how toxic they are, every single one of them are immunosuppressive.
Mm-hmm.
So they break apart our T cells, our B cells, they limit our white blood cells to be able to do their job appropriately. So you might be okay now, but what does that look like 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Right? So
And being in that mycotoxin environment and then using chemical air freshener
Right.
on top of
Right.
it to
Yes.
mask that smell. So it may not be the mold, it may be the air fresheners that are causing an issue and respiratory, upper respiratory issues. And sorry, Tori, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
100%. That you guys just hit the nail on the head. There's so much when you get into that. Then you've got the chemicals in the homes. People, and that's when I try to educate them. And when we close, I give air doctors, I give brand
What?
basics. I know.
Yay.
That is amazing.
It is. It's so, I want to, give them the tools they need to get started on their new home journey, healthy home journey.
Yeah.
And everybody deserves this. And we're all on different levels. I've got people that have come to me that have researched and that are super educated. And then I've got people that are just trying to figure things out. They know they want a healthy home and they want a realtor to fight for them and to do some things that other, realtors may not ask or questions. And it's just so important to listen and care for everybody. And I just look at it to where if I was the one buying the house, I just go into it like, this is my house, this is what I would want, and then I'm good. Everybody wins.
You know what's crazy about this conversation is I'm coming to this realization. So when we were living in Florida, and Florida is just a mold infested place.
Yeah.
Love it dearly, but it's just very moldy. That is when I started getting sick. But it wasn't until, I started before we were in townhouses and apartments and all of that. But when I took a turn for the most worst, so to speak, was when we moved into our first home. And I would say 2 weeks into moving into our home, my husband was upstairs showering and I was outside with Ava. We only had one kid at the time, and I was pregnant with Jackson. And we see water. I see water just coming down the outside of our house from that shower that was turned on.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what the hey? We just moved in literally 2 days ago.
Yeah.
This should not be happening. And I messaged the homeowner and she was just like, oh, here's the plumber that we use, because I didn't have any other resources or somebody who should have maybe caught that.
Right.
Because I highly doubt it was just happened when we moved in.
Yeah, where was the inspector on that one?
Exactly.
Right.
And we had somebody come out. Now that I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness, this all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had someone come out and they didn't even open up that wall. Not at all. They just fixed the leak in the upstairs shower and that was it. And I'm like, holy moly. It was right after that I had Jackson that everything tanked.
Yeah. oldie moldy shower wall.
Yeah. But
That's
that's crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy that wasn't found. And so I'm so thankful for someone like you where these new, especially like first time home buyers, we don't know what to look for. We have no idea. We're just like, oh, this is pretty. I like this.
Exactly. They worry about the floor plan and what's functional. And
Yes.
another thing I want to touch on are crawl spaces a little bit. That is such, oh my goodness, those are hard because I just find, that needs extra attention and extra,
Mhm.
inspections and testing and all of that. That's a big one that I find. But they have great dehumidifiers and you can encapsulate them, and there's things that you can do. So don't be scared if you have a house and you're sitting here listening to me. Oh my gosh, I got a crawl space. Don't panic, but I would definitely make sure you get someone out there, get it tested, get it looked at, get it inspected, and maybe look at doing an investment and getting a dehumidifier down there, making
Mhm.
sure, with humidity, you want it, I like to say under 45. I like it to be between 30 and 40 is ideal, good humidity in those spaces. So get that, and don't be scared. Just be empowered and educated and have that
Mhm.
knowledge and confidence. You know what? We might have an issue. I don't want people to panic and, start having, more anxiety, because it can be very stressful,
Oh,
especially if
yeah.
you're living in a house or thinking about buying a house. I don't want you to have that, because it will be fine. We will find you a good, healthy home, or I can help you, or we can talk about things to help you that are in your home now, to maybe make it better and healthier, the one that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And more on kind of the preventative side, you mentioned the humidity and moisture. Are there other things that homeowners, so once you're in the house, that we can do as maintenance to help prevent mold from building up?
Absolutely. I love roof inspections. I think you can't see when a shingle has been blown off. You don't know what's going on the top of your roof. So reach out to a roof company, have them come up there and assess. Are any of those roof caps, are they rusted? Are there anything around that chimney? Is there water getting in and possibly going down through the chimney? And having a good chimney inspection is really, really good as well, because those are water intrusion areas. I love that. Of
Mhm.
course, basements, keep an eye on your basements, keep
Mhm.
that humidity low. And those are things. But also, I want to, when you look at your house and when there is maybe water settling around that foundation, you want to make sure that you are having it graded away from the house, right? You want that water to run away. If you're sitting
Mhm.
there and that water is, coming towards a garage or, an area, you're going to have water. You want it, to be graded away from the house. Those are things to look at that I
Yeah.
think is good. Yep.
Well, we took out the where it was coming in the house and totally
Yep.
gutted all
That's
of
what
that.
was
And
happening to her house.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would rain, and it would, like, when we have heavy rains in Georgia, if the pipes got over, we put in new pipes, we put in French
Yep.
drains to go, away from the house. And when we finally put our patio down, that'll all get regraded again as
Yep.
well. But it would just come in and it would make
Yep.
that carpet wet. And
Yep.
we got a new chimney a couple of years ago because water damage from that on the outside of the house, and all just kinds of crazy stuff. So I kind of was like, hey, we got to get rid of all of this, which is
Yeah.
why we don't have carpet anymore.
Yeah. That's
What about bathrooms?
Okay,
Yes.
so bathrooms, obviously you want to make sure that you have the vent fan turned on. And sometimes we do see some issues that it will vent up to the attic. So that's where your inspector needs to really evaluate, because some of that humidity could come up into the attic. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure that it's ventilated properly. You want to make sure, and this is a huge thing for easy homeowners can do, go around your shower. That caulking, that water is just going down into underneath there. You want to make sure that you keep your caulking and that shower area nice and secure. And also in the kitchen too, we have that kitchen when you're washing dishes, it can splash up behind the sink. Just make sure that you're sealing and looking at things around the house and also around windows. We sometimes, older homes have those wooden windows. When I'm showing
Mm-hmm.
homes, sometimes people haven't maintained it, they haven't painted them, and they're all rotten, and that's going into the siding and into the drywall. Really just maintaining your home, looking at it, pressure washing it, getting some of that green funk off of it, just keeping your home healthy. And make sure, another thing, are you changing your HVAC filters? Oh my gosh, you'll be surprised on how many home inspections that I see. They will pull it out and that thing is black. And one of them
Ugh.
the other day said, I don't even know, has this ever even been changed? It was so, like I was like, oh, okay.
Ugh.
So, and try to get inspected, make sure that there's no water leaks, because a lot of homes, their HVAC system is in their attic. Well, there could be a slow leak dripping, just going on down the water inside the walls. And you've got that little drip happening for a year or so, and you're not feeling well. Well, guess what? You've got water inside your walls. So, really, just really assess that. Having, it's basically just maintenance. I like to have my HVAC, checked out right before summertime, make sure that, it's good. And then in wintertime, it's good to have, some people do it twice a year just to catch anything that might be happening. Yeah.
So what do you recommend?
I'm making a mental list.
Yes. Okay. What do you, I was one's quick. She can answer this one quick.
Yeah.
What do you recommend as indoor humidity? Because your house lives outside, but you live inside your house, but your house lives outside. So we have to remember that as well. Because in the South, it's either hot or humid or cold, and it's not super always dry. So we don't have time for things to, so if you're in Arizona.
Okay, quick pause, y'all, just to show our sponsor some love for their support. Did you know that there's different stages to the common cold? My go-to product for those pesky symptoms is Cold Calm by Boron. These melt-away tablets made with pure active ingredients target sneezing, runny nose, and congestion at every single stage. I love that they're non-drowsy and phenylephrine-free. Plus, they melt in your mouth without any water. Visit boronusa.com and use coupon code THEDiscoveryDoc1 for 20% off your order of Cold Calm. While you're there, explore other winter essentials by Boron, including Oscillococcinum and Throat Calm. Claims are based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated. All right, let's jump back into our conversation.
So if you're in Arizona, mold is not an issue. It's so dry out there.
Right.
But what's the internal indoor humidity is your preference range?
I mean, we like it under 50. So what you want to do also is check with if you're having a humidity problem, it feels sticky, talk to an HVAC company. They can actually add extra dehumidifiers on your systems. There is some really good companies out there. I know Mead Indoor Air. He's a building biologist, and he really, comes in and can do a lot too. But you really do want to make sure and keep the air flowing, right? So a lot of people, what do they do when they go on vacation? Let's turn our air conditioning off. Please don't turn your air conditioning off. You want to keep it flowing. And it's so great to open up those windows and doors. You really want fresh air in our house. We're all, we've got these nice, energy efficient homes. We all want, all of that. Well, sometimes energy efficient is not so great because it's so tight. You're in this tight house that's just kind of, and you're sitting here breathing all these great chemicals that you're bringing. You got your Lysol, your plug-ins. It's like, oh, and we're wondering why we're all, congested and, chemicals and all that. So try to open up your windows and letting some fresh air in. I do love that, but you do want to keep that humidity intact and under 50.
Awesome. Another big category Our EMFs. Good
Oh,
old EMFs. Yes.
All
yes.
these, we have a smart house, and so
Ooh.
she's gonna get on to me.
See, I'm like, with us going into construction, I'm like, can we have everything hardwired? Is that too much to ask for?
That is
But with new homeowners, or when you are evaluating or assessing a home,
yes.
what are you using to detect these levels? And then what are certain landmarks that buyers can kind of evaluate to guesstimate their exposure?
Oh, such good questions. Okay,
This is,
so
this is a very deep hole,
It is.
Cece.
I know.
yeah,
I like rabbit holes. Sorry.
there is so much to EMF, and it really just it used to not really be a thing back years ago. It was more like power lines you were concerned about. Now, like you said, everything is smart, and you're just getting hit with EMFs. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with this.
I know.
So, we have the new amazing 5G towers up everywhere. I mean, they're like everywhere now, and it's like you just can't even go around a corner without seeing them. So, I would try to limit, being around those 5G towers. And you can get your own EMF meter. I have a tri-field, and I have one from Shielded Healing.
Mhm.
So, what I like to do is, when I'm out showing, I like to just kind of assess the area and see what the readings are and just kind of get an idea. And also, we've got the whole dirty electricity and, all of that's in the walls. Green Wave has great meters, and I do have a Green Wave. I test, I can plug it in, and I can know, if it needs a filter, which is filtering that coming out of the walls. So there's some great filters and testing from Green Wave. That's a great website. You can look that up. But so that's one thing, but a lot of people don't know this. Unplugging your lamp. I've noticed when I'm in and I'm looking at homes and I have my EMF meter, if I'm testing around your headboard and you unplug that lamp, that goes way down. Just having something plugged in by your head. So a lot
Mhm.
of families, when they have their little toddlers, they'll not have lamps or try to keep them away from a plug-in, right? Try to move that baby bed or move it away that there's not that electrical outlet like right there by their head. And maybe sometimes they'll pull it away from the wall. Those are good techniques that I like to tell people, little tips that I have found. And if you can, unplug your Wi-Fi, but I know how hard that is, and I don't even try to fight with that anymore because everybody's got
Mhm.
everybody's got the security cameras now that's on Wi-Fi. So
I've already failed Tori because we have our lights and things on remotes,
yeah,
so that when we come home, we don't have to come home to a dark house,
Mhm.
or like we have an arrive home and an away, so it locks our doors and
yeah.
does like all kinds of cool stuff. So
Uh,
um, she's already. I fail the Tori McGee
yeah.
test
Oh my
for
gosh.
sure.
Yeah.
But it does make a difference, and
Yeah.
we're sitting in front of a computer, and we've got lights, and we've got our microphones and all that stuff, and it's a rainy, gloomy day here
Yeah.
in Atlanta. So usually we go out and walk on the grass after and get back
Right.
grounded and
Get
get
a ground.
get those things.
But the good thing is there are things that you can do. And I know, like, for me, I'm very sensitive. And when we moved into our office in February, my new office, they put the router and all of the internet stuff in the office that I spend the most time in. And there's also a smart meter outside of that wall. And so,
Wow.
like, two or 3 months go by, and I'm sitting in that office, and every single time I'd be in front of a patient, and my whole body would just go
Hmm.
like this big
Hmm.
whoosh. And I was getting super dizzy, and I was getting floaters, and I was feeling nauseous. And then I would go into the other office that I see patients in and be totally fine. And I'm like, you guys, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but there's something in this room. I think
Yep.
it has to do with like EMF,
Yep.
and I'm like, I will not sit in here
Yeah.
until we figure it out. And so excuse me, we actually had a patient of ours come in with one of those EMF detectors, and he kind of went around and he was like, holy moly, it was
Yep.
just off the charts in that office.
Yep.
And so we actually had AT&T come out and reroute the entire office building.
Perfect.
And he was like, is something wrong with the internet? And I'm like, no, I just don't want it in here.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't want the EMFs in this room.
We need to move this. And he thought we were so crazy because then they had to rewire and dig and do all this stuff. And so we put it as far as we could where no patients are around, where we hardly go, in a corner.
Right.
And I no longer get dizzy in that office, no longer have floaters. But it's just wild that something like that can impact you. And it's something that most people wouldn't think of. Oh, maybe it's my internet.
Yeah, maybe it's all the things that are plugged in around me, because we're so connected all the time. So we can't unplug and unconnect. That's unrealistic. So what are the things that we can do to either shield our EMF? She's got a shield on her computer.
Yes.
Like, what are some of the things that we can do for our person and for our home? Like, how do we protect ourselves and mitigate,
especially if it's like our dream home and it's right next to a 5G tower. Like, what do you do for those homeowners that are like, but we want this house?
Right. Exactly. So there are things that you can get into. They do have shielded paint. That is for somebody that, maybe just wants this house and there's just a tower right there. That's one thing. And another thing that you can look at doing is there's some great by, Safe Sleep. They have these, the computer, they actually have also the blankets, for that. But there's also a low EMF Wi-Fi router. I can post about that. And I'm sure you could look that up too if you just type in a low EMF Wi-Fi router. Now, my son I've told him about it. He's like, Mom, it's probably going to be slower. It's going to mess up with my gaming,
the important things in life.
Right.
Exactly. So that might be a family fight with that. But there are some options, but I love, and this is what I tell people, we have to live around it. Put your Wi-Fi router, put it in a closet, put it somewhere in the house. Ours is like the very corner of nobody's up there. Put it up there. And, if you can, just try to, limit, being in front of, a lot of the computers, with the kids and screen times. There's things you can do. But there's also other, some people are doing, which we haven't done, and I don't know if we ever will do, is they have those little nettings, that you can actually net and put, for the EMF blockers. Some people.
It looks like a mosquito net.
I have a net over our router. I do. Yes. It's in a closet. It's in our utility closet with a net around it.
Absolutely. And that, there's also EMF, almost Faraday cages for our router. So there's that. Also, a lot of clients will buy the smart meter caps. It's like a Faraday cage you can put on that. If you can't do analog, sometimes you can call like your power company and say, hey, can you remove this? But it is a cost to that. But another problem is some people are, want their privacy. They're going to have to come out and check every month. So some people are like, oh, I live on a couple of acres. I don't want the power company coming out to my land and looking at my meter at some random time of the day. So, there's that. But limiting like the exposure and finding out, where is your smart meter in the house, right? And covering it up with the, they have those silver cloths and making that. Some people, which I have heard have worked really good, and we have one, you can actually do some grounding sheets, half grounding sheets, and the pillowcases. Of course, I prefer grounding on your feet, organic, with no pesticides, but you also have to be careful going out to somewhere and they're just sprayed it with all these chemicals and you're walking around barefoot absorbing all that.
Right.
We do. We have grounding sheets also. I'm just crazy, but we have grounding sheets. I have them on all the beds. I have like a grounding mat and then a grounding sheet on top of that. And I personally noticed, I mean, I did it because I was having these crazy waves of insomnia that I've never had before. And I was like, I wonder if, and it's so interesting because common sense to me is don't plug in your phone by your head, right? Like we all know that. And I don't do that, but I still have my essential oil diffuser plugged in and I have my lamp plugged in.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and so there's still all these cords right there. Yeah. And since we've been on the grounding mat, I mean, it's been probably a year now.
Yeah.
I sleep so much better.
It really does.
So I have a grounding pillowcase and I put it, Mark kills me every time. He's like, if the house gets struck by lightning, it's going to set our bed on fire. And I'm like, it's a grounding. He's like, do you know what happened? I'm like, so I'm fighting that at home of like, dude, it's just a pillowcase. And he's like, he won't let me put it under the sheet where I sleep. And when I have it, it makes me feel better. But I also have my electric blanket to keep me warm when it's cold. So there's that. And then, okay, so I'm plugging in my infrared therapy mat.
I know. It's
how do you?
Well, some mats have good EMF blockers built in.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. And also, why don't you get rid of your electric blankets? I'm going to tell you, they're so bad. Like that's like
I bet
they're so bad. Okay.
I told you I will fail.
Yeah, you're so failing. So I would swap that out for the
life goals.
It's like a biomat. You can get them off Amazon for $150. They're made with gemstones. It's more like a heating pad, but the biomat really helps put you to sleep. I mean, I will go lay on them when I'm at the chiropractor. I'll lay in a red light bed, which is low EMF. And then you can lay on those biomats they have the gemstones on them. And it really, I mean, it makes a difference. So if you're getting cold, I would say buy that biomat and lay on it to keep you warm. And you're having the gemstones and you're having all that heated regulation without having all that. You're just sitting under a little electromagnetic.
I use my EMF, I mean, my biomat on the couch because that's what my infrared mat is. And then I have my infrared sauna. So she's about to
naughty.
But I'm right where I am and I'm doing what I can do.
Exactly. So that is true.
She's throwing shade over here.
We're work on getting rid of that blanket, the electric blanket. I would say try to get rid of that. If you could get rid of one thing in 2024, try to do that.
Okay.
Done.
Goals.
I'm saying done like it's me. Done.
Well, get rid of
go there and throw it out.
Get rid of the Raynaud's and why I'm cold all the time and keep my fingers from hurting and falling off.
No pressure.
So fix that problem.
No pressure on
and I'll get rid of the blanket.
Great. So before we kind of wrap up this part, and you guys, we have part 2 where we're going to continue this conversation with Tori and dive deeper into renovations, which I'm super excited about, and non-toxic materials that we can use, and radon and VOCs and all these crazy things. So stay tuned for part 2. But before we do, where can our community find you and reach you? Any special shout outs that you would like to give also?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think the best way, I have a lot of information on my website at atlantaholisticrealtor.com. I've got resources. I have free wellness real estate magazine on there. If you go to the website, it's tons of information. And then you can go in and actually look at maybe some local vendors that align with more of the wellness, healthy home movement. So if you're looking for a vendor, they might be on the list. So reach out and take a look at that. And all my contact information is on there. And yeah, I'd love to connect with you and answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that all of those links are in the show notes on YouTube, and make sure that you can get connected with Tori. And if you're not in the Atlanta area, please reach out to Tori because she can give you insights on who to contact or what to look for in other companies in the area that you are living in. So stick around for our next episode, which will come out.
I don't know.
The next, it'll either be a Tuesday or a Thursday. So stay tuned for the next one. And until next time, let's discover together. We hope you've enjoyed this journey of exploration and learning as much as we have. Before you go, we have a special request for you, our beloved discoverers. We'd be thrilled if you could show your support in a few easy steps. Step 1, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of discovery. Step 2, if you're listening via Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to rate and review our show. Your feedback means the world to us and helps others discover our podcast too. Step 3, whether you're on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, please share the Discovery Doc podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. It's the best way to spread the joy of discovery. And finally, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Discovery Doc. Stay connected with us for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Plus, for exclusive content and additional resources, be sure to check out our website at www.thediscoverydoc.com. And while you're there, if you have a burning question or a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, simply let us know. Thank you, Discoverers, for being part of our incredible journey. Until next time, let's discover together. The content provided in this podcast provides general information and discussions on various topics related to health, wellness, and medical advancements. However, it is essential to understand that the content provided in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The hosts, guests, and contributors are individuals sharing their personal experiences, opinions, and knowledge in their respective fields. While they strive to provide accurate, up-to-date information, medical knowledge is constantly evolving, and the information presented in this podcast may not always reflect the most current research and medical guidelines. It is crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional or medical expert for specific medical concerns. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking medical treatment based on the information presented in this podcast. The Discovery Doc podcast encourages listeners to use their own judgment and discretion while implementing any suggestions, recommendations, or lifestyle changes discussed in this episode. Each individual's medical situation is unique and may work for one, may not be suitable or safe for another. The podcast hosts, guests, and contributors are not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or incidental damages or harm that may arise from listening or acting upon the information provided in this podcast. Listeners are responsible for their own health decisions and should exercise caution and seek professional guidance when necessary. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you have read, understood, and agreed to this medical disclaimer. If you have any questions or concerns about this medical disclaimer, please consult a qualified healthcare professional.